the Motorbike Rider digital magazine, bringing you video features, video tours and video reviews.
So today is all about finding out what it's like to be a day as a biker cop, what they get up to, what their opinions are, and how they feel about fellow bikers on the road, which we're going to be talking to Mark later. And see what his attitude is towards guys on the road. Oh. We're here just at 10 to 9 in the morning. We met up at 8 o'clock, and today is a force awareness day to get as many of the chaps on traffic on the ground. So does the ANPR show up on that, does it? Does the... Oh no, they're just sat-navs. So do you get called up? When there's a ping comes off through the ANPR, are you going to get called up and say... So we are waiting here, sat here, stood here.
Immediate came in where at Ingleby Arncliffe they downgraded it to a P and want us to go up.
Okay.
It sounds like some dispute about trespassing. So we're going to Ingleby Arncliffe, that's northbound, isn't it? We'll go there.
I think so. Off we go. So we've been sat there just off the A19 for approximately 20 minutes, and the first shout is up. Little place called Ingleby Arncliffe. So here we are at the location for the trespassing dispute, and nobody is showing the face too much. Looks like this might be it. Ah, yes it is. Here we go. So I think that was resolved nicely. A little bit of common sense.
Yeah, common sense is lacking, isn't it? was telling you about the sort of jobs we go to, you know, and we get involved in stuff that isn't traffic related. And
Aye.
definitely nothing to do with the road traffic activity.
No, just about 5 yards worth of mud.
Yeah. It happens, you know, we get called to it, and it's really just about sort of putting the police case across, you know. It's a complete 100% civil matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Dispute over land, dispute
Yeah.
over access. But it can, and it does quite often spill into criminal, you know, threats, assaults, damage.
Yeah.
We haven't got to that stage yet, and hopefully it won't do. They all sound quite mature, and I think it's just tempers are getting a bit frayed.
Ah, well.
Right.
These are the things that are sent to try us.
Absolutely.
So, just updating control room of a dispute over about 5 square metres worth of ground. Tempers getting frayed, which is purely a civil matter. However, if threats, violence, wrestling on the ground, then of course it will become a police matter. So as a biker cop, the first job of the day was to deal with a land dispute.
Spoke to them again. Basically, they're going to use us out here if aught happens. I've told them that we'll be going sort of between Stokes and Elmsley first, this side of the A19 and A22, and they're happy with that. We ain't going to get any NPR information.
Okay.
I've had it confirmed. It's just going to be no.
I'm here with Mark. We're just in a little village on the edge of the North Yorkshire moors on our biker cop for the day. And we've decided to stop in this village to do a little bit of speed awareness. So, over to Mark, because he's going to give us a little bit of a demonstration, explanation of the speed gun.
Okay, we're going to be using this device. It's a Pro Laser 3. It's quite an old device now. It's certainly been around for like 10 years or so. Incredibly accurate, incredibly reliable, and robust, which it needs to be for us. It just needs to have an annual calibration, which it's got there. 7th of January 2015 it expires. I'm trained in its use. I've done the start-up checks this morning with it. It's gone through its start-up checks now. It's ready to operate.
Cool.
And all we do is we'll go out, I form the opinion vehicle is exceeding the speed limit. The device will verify it. Obviously depending on the speed it's doing.
Yeah.
Depends on how we deal with the driver or rider. This village is notorious for people speeding through. It's got national links either side. It's quite a challenging road. It's a quick road.
Yeah.
And then it comes into the 30s. There's a school just up the road as well. So it's conservation taken into account when we deal with people.
Okay.
See what happens.
So there we go. Don't blame me if we stop anybody. Don't stop watching my films.
That's doing 35 going away. 30 mile an hour is at the bottom of there, maybe it's 700 feet down to the bend, and the national limit is perhaps another 200 feet beyond that. So there's 1,000 feet, so the best chunk of 300 metres before they get to us. They've obviously the speed limit starts at the 30 mile an hour, not when you don't sort of slow down or brake at it. We do allow a bit of leeway. By the time they come to that bend, I would expect the speed to be off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, we've got one coming this way as well. I am visible, you know, and obviously it's a single carriageway road. There's not many roads on, so people start warning one another here, and so there we go. What'll happen without a shadow of a doubt is as they leave the village.
Yeah, yeah, flash.
And I don't mind. You know, if people are paying attention and they get the speed off and it means they're slowing the village, then that's fine, you know. It's not just about giving tickets.
So already we've had an impact in the little village, even though we've only been out for a couple of minutes. It's not just about giving tickets. Perhaps there's a speed awareness course that people can go on, and I'm guilty of having attended one myself, and I learned a hell of a lot actually at that speed awareness day. Something I didn't think I would, because we all think we're great drivers. In fact, if you ask anybody, are you a bad driver, not one of us would say no. So let's see what happens today, and we'll just keep an eye on Mark and find out how he deals with any drivers who are breaking the limit.
35, we'll have a word with you about the speed. The speed limit starts at
So we've already got the first one. We've been here a matter of seconds. So could you explain to our viewers that was clocked at 35 and you're going to get this van?
Well, the van's doing 36 and so's the car.
So here we are. We're already in a situation now of over 35. It's now to 36.
Yeah, if you just watch us being through villages, alright, we get lots of complaints. But yeah, as you come down into the village, there's two 30 mile an hour signs on either side of the road. As you come round the bend, you're about 200 yards into the village and you're going 36 miles an hour. Just words of advice. From one brick to another. Alright, enjoy your drive. Morning. Something worried about your speed, alright. 30 mile an hour in the village. There's two signs as you come in either side of the road. System street lamps in place, it's 30 mile an hour village. As you come round, you've been behind the recording speed at 36 mile an hour. It's a little bit over, just enough for somebody to stop and have a word about the speed. You drive through it often. What generally happens is you come to a village, particularly one like this where there is one route in and one route out, and within 10-15 minutes everybody's doing the speed limit.
Yeah.
So you just put it away and go.
But that's a good thing, isn't it?
It is.
It's a good thing because when I was speaking to Martin, he said people will recognise that you're there, but that's also a good thing because they won't know that you've left and there'll still be that awareness of, right, where is he? So it's a good thing.
It is, absolutely, and I also think there's a perception generally that I think people would rather be stopped by a police officer about the speed than just some anonymous, indiscriminate camera.
Absolutely.
Where, you know, when like I said, we've got a bit more discretion, we can stop people and we can look at all the circumstances. The roads are dry, the traffic's ever so light, you know, so maybe we might be just a little bit more generous with what we allow people before we start prosecuting them.
Well, those three people that within minutes were pulled across, 35, 36, they'll probably gain more from having been warned than being angry about getting a ticket.
Quite possible. In fairness, I don't know what the thresholds are for it. And at 36, you're probably getting to where you think, well, you're certainly over 10% plus 2 over.
Yeah, for sure.
It is. But in fairness, if the schools had been kicking out, or if it had been, you know, one line of traffic where they were coming up the outside with people in and out of the cars, then you might look at it a bit differently.
Yeah.
And you know, but at the moment, I'm satisfied that I can just have a word with them, point it out, and they'll take it on board.
Exactly.
You know, hopefully.
Well, hopefully.
I think for the
well, there's that as well, isn't there? There's a situation where there's also, I suppose in some ways, the community service aspect where by that I mean getting on with the general public, that you're not just out to nab as many as you can and fill the coffers for the speeding tickets. It's also a case of, well, be aware of where you're riding or you're driving and somebody could just pop out to this junction, or if there's a school there, there could just be a kid that has to go home and runs out. You just don't know, do you?
No. I mean, the thing is, as well, where we live, it's, you know, people by and large, I mean, a large majority are very pro-police. And while you accept that, I think they also accept that, you know, we're here and if you transgress.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a bad place to police, though, is it?
Well, it's a wonderful place. So I suppose whilst we're here, we can do our little bit as well because of the questions that I've been asked to ask you. Do you, as a biker yourself, give more leeway to bikers than you will cars?
As far as offences on the road go, no. Because I honestly believe I don't see why I should.
Yep.
Perhaps I'm a bit more critical of bikers because obviously with what we deal with having injuries, etc. And when I say critical, it's sort of when I observe a motorcyclist and observe how they're riding. Not necessarily breaking the laws, but if you excuse me.
Yeah, it's okay. So you were saying there that it's not so much how the speed that the bikers are doing, but how they ride?
Yeah, and not all of us. I mean, there are some great riders out there.
That would have been interesting if we'd have gone.
Yeah, I know. We've been told that you don't point these because it's a laser in it. You don't know what you'll get in the reply.
Yeah.
Faithful a chaff or a
Absolutely,
missile.
aye.
Yeah, we there's some great. There are some great motorcyclists out. Some really, you know, who ride to a high standard. They say.
Yeah.
And you see them, and you just know that they're, you know, good riders. And you see the ones who perhaps haven't had the amount of training, perhaps passed the test and then not taking it any further. And I'm not just saying about the ones who are riding for long, and maybe some of the older ones as well, who passed the test several years ago and haven't done any more about it. And you know, you look at the positioning, the hazard awareness, the speed they carry, and I'm not saying about speeding, but the speed they carry towards hazards, you know, vehicles emerging from either side, and they don't adjust the positions, and you see it, and it makes the toes go.
Well, yeah, and I can understand it.
Quite often, I will, you know, stop a motorcyclist and just have a chat with them. 35. You know, and things like lifesaver checks when they're moving,
Yeah.
you know, and some of them just don't do it.
No, loads in fact. So here's another car, 35, getting pulled over for a little bit of a chat.
Oh, 41 that white one.
Oh, no. So we've got somebody doing 41. That's going to be terrible, that one. Let's see what he's got to say about that.
Morning, sir. It's alright. I'll talk to you about your speed, okay? Push it in, please. Is this your car, is it? This is your... Alright, then. Okay. I'll talk about your speed. I'm just going to warn you, you don't have to say anything. Because now you've mentioned one question, something like before. You didn't say anything there. It's not an arrest, alright? I want to ask you questions about the road defence. No speed limit.
So that gentleman there, doing speed of 41. Unfortunately, he'd done a speed awareness course last year, so he wasn't able to be offered one. Goes up to about 41, 42 with the discretion. It's down to the individual, of course. You get offered the opportunity of a speed awareness course, which I've been on one myself, which I found tremendously worthwhile, to the point where I reckon everybody should have to do one over the age of, say, 60, every 2 or 3 years. But 41 mile an hour ticket, and there you go.
We're going over there now. It's up and running. It says something's just hit the camera southbound, but we're not going to make it. So we'll go over there. I'll let him know we're there, and then he's going to send us out. So it should be a bit more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. We've just been in this little village. And the amount of vehicles, which were 35, 36, one at 40, who in the end was just given a warning. Very lucky man. And the gentleman who, at the speed of 41, £100 fine and 3 points. I guess it just goes to show that even in the villages out in the countryside, be aware, because that's where these guys are going to be, because that's where most of the complaints come in for. Vehicles speeding because they don't think they don't need to stick to the speed limit. You know, it isn't all about being glamorous, and that the first job was dispute over somebody getting heated over a little bit of common ground. And then we've been seeing vehicles doing 35, 36, 40 who was given a stern warning, and 41 who got a ticket. That I'm sure there would have been more over there. It was just unbelievable. But I also mentioned that these are the places to be aware of, because it's out in the countryside where the people will complain about speeds, really, in the little villages, not the major roads.
It's interesting that locals say the bikes, by and large, are pretty good. Did I find that?
It's just the noise. People think they're going fast because of the exhaust.
It's a misconception almost that if it's loud,
Aye.
it's fast.
Aye.
And you know, I know, it depends on depends on the bike, depends on what gear they're in. You know, but... You know,
Well, next Wednesday, I'm going down to Lancashire. Are we off? And there's the first ANPR one that's been spun. Now it's a case of catching him. So they've got all the details of him, and Mark's going to have to hot foot it to catch him. So the vehicle itself has pinged up on the ANPR and saying that it's coming up as no insurance, but the gentleman in the vehicle is saying that it has been insured and there's something to do with the motor trade.
it's his mate's car, he's borrowed it off his mate, he's showing no insurance, etc. So it's the same as before.
Okay, so there's a car borrowed off his mate, showing as no insurance. So there we have it. There you've got the vehicle being recovered. And not only was there no insurance, his tax was out of date, and he wasn't even wearing a seat belt. He'd put the belt behind the driver's seat and put the catch together so that the alarm wasn't going off, but the belt was actually behind the seat. So the fine is £300 and 6 points on his licence, but also there's a £150 recovery cost on top, and £25 a day storage until he goes and collects it and has obviously proof that he's got insurance and he's got all the documents to drive the vehicle. Apparently, it being his mate, he hadn't checked insurance, he just jumped in it and off he went. But one of the nicest things I was pleased to see was one of the cars came up, collected him and took him to a destination where he was safe. So, you see, they're not all bad, but for the sake of a phone call, it's cost him at least £450 and 6 points on his licence.